I'm Eric Hansen. I'm a biologist with the Vermont Center for Eco Studies, and I coordinate the Vermont Loon Conservation Project for the past 26 years. So we'll haul the logs out, the new foam thing, which is actually made for a dock. But I'll put several of you to work on dismantling the old raft, and then a few of us will start building the new one. Hopefully we'll find some shrubs and then some ferns. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take all the vegetation off that raft, and then we'll cut the cables and the cement blocks off.
Yeah, if you give me the cable cutters and tell me what to do, I'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, like the comment. I go swimming.
My handwriting is really bad, so.
But you could have a different, then you'd only need to have a garden.
This raft is now approaching a decade old, so it's just been there for a long time. We could probably make it last for another 5 years, 6 years easy with the flotation. But we got funding from a grant from an oil spill to work with rafts and replace old rafts and build some new ones. And so we're taking that funding to swap this raft out, and we're really focused on rafts that have been super successful. We're also then upgrading this raft to be a little more buoyant. It's a little highly exposed when you get a south wind, so it can get battered by some waves. So we're building a slightly bigger raft with bigger floats. And you'll see that when we take this one apart, there's all these smaller floats underneath. So it's always an issue of balancing flotation and sinking down too low and not handling the exposure to the big waves.
A lot, but I think Eric's got it.
Grab the other side. I just want to sort of fit this in here, make sure it fits before. So I think we are ready to flip this and see if we can get the 8-inchers into this guy. Flip around the other side. You can help lower it. We'll get it to the level we want and then just no, we're gonna miss that this year, unless they come back in September. We're gonna help with the translocation project. We got a permit. just don't rot. It's just like, it will eventually, but it becomes a little punky. Yeah. Last step before vegetation. And so I was like, well, what if we put a bigger raft, nest pole on this side, put some boards on the other side, and we just kind of
Demonstrate the goose guard.
if you have them tall enough, it can prevent tools. And then we'll put the nest pole on this side.
This gets put on prior to the loons getting it, because the geese get too interested.
See if we can get a bunch of really big shrubs. And I'm hoping that this raft can support some shrubs that are really tall. And there might be some small spruce trees, willows, alders. Those are kind of what we're after. Anywhere in the 1 to 4 foot stage. We're gonna maybe try to find a few bigger ones than I usually use. Which is really good for shading in the summer, because south is there. This would actually be on the south side, because we often do it facing the lake. Back when this program started, when there were less than 20 pairs in the state, one of the big factors was reservoirs that would go up and down quite a bit. They just couldn't control the dams, or they weren't aware of the loons, so we started working with hydro companies to stabilize. Even if they're aware of it, you get a 2-inch thunderstorm, water might go up 6 to 8 inches. So in that case, having something that floats would mitigate that problem. So there's definitely a bunch of reservoirs in the state where we need rafts, because any rainstorm, the waters go up and would flood the nest. And if that's been happening for 50, 60, 100 years, chicks lost in failed nests, or chicks prevented. The other part back in the day was shoreline predation. So they were using nests to get them mimic islands. Essentially, that's an island now. And raccoons and foxes couldn't get out there. But since the loons are doing so well right now, we're not using that as a reason to place a new raft. It's okay to have some predation. In fact, if you can just have a chick every other year, every third year, your lake is doing pretty good. So, and rafts are really successful, so we got to be a little careful of where we want to put them. We want to promote nesting where loons would not naturally nest. So the other part is letting loons make the first move. Let them try naturally, assess. And this is a perfect example on Lake Fairleigh where they did that. They nested over here in the brook, actually found a little mud flat that was successful and didn't flood out. It wouldn't have taken much to flood it. It was a drier year and they were okay. The next year they nested at a picnic beach, right where people like to be, and near the public beach, near the picnic tables. So we were working on securing that and making it a safe place, but then raccoons got the eggs within a few days. So the raft was an idea that could we entice the birds to come to a quieter spot away from shoreline activity, to allow people to do what they want to do, picnic, boat, have access, but then have the loons in a spot where people aren't going to interfere with that and loons aren't going to interfere with their activities. So we put a raft right over here in the next week, and those loons were checking it out within a few days, and they re-nested within 2 or 3 weeks, and they've been using that raft now ever since. The pair has nested back naturally. They don't always go back to it. They'll choose different sites for whatever reason, but something makes islands really attractive, and rafts, they can swim around it. Again, the raccoons can't get out there, the fox can't. Harder for a mink, so this was a perfect opportunity to put a slightly more robust raft, as well as a lot of taller shrubs and trees, to get this raft in good shape for the next decade.